Hello friends, we all know that how popular MongoDB is. Keeping that in view, I have decided to come up with a playlist where I will be working on Python Django in form of Django REST framework, where I will be inserting data and perform the CRUD operation using cloud.mongodb.com. So I've created my account over here and I've already connected, and let's get into the collection, and the collection which I have created over here by the name called my database, and over here I will be using a table called employee. So this table employee is going to have some data. I have already inserted few of the data over here, so let me drop a couple of data so that I can show you how the insertion is going to work on. So as you can see over here, now I am left with only two tuples, or better to say two documents, because according to MongoDB it follows document based JSON. So this is in the form of JSON, document based JSON, and it is actually an unstructured database, right? So let me get into my code now, and here as you can see I will be using DRF. For that reason, on the right hand side I have got my Postman. This is my Django app, and the app Django project is named as first underscore MongoDB. So here is my URL, and I will be connecting to this particular app that is there, which I have created by the name called Mongo underscore app. So let me get into the URL of Mongo underscore app. This is the URL. So let me close side toolbar, and in the coming days I will be discussing all these views separately. In today's video I will be talking about the register employee view. So let me get into the register employee, and here we land up. As you can see, this is a Django REST framework, so we are using the decorator over here as app underscore view, and since I'm going to save data in my model, for that reason I have got the decorator of the method type post. Now remember, since we are working on DRF, so there will be no such template, rather we will be working on Postman, because the front end can be Android, it can be iOS, it can be Angular, or even it can be React as well. So for that reason I'm going to send data through Postman in the form of JSON, and this is quite important in this regard. But first, before I get into the Django view, let me talk about something important. So I have got my connection, well, you need to install the dependency called PyMongo. That is something which you have to install, which I have installed over here. Sorry. Now I have set my API connectivity inside the settings dot. Just a second. Yeah, sorry. So I have registered my API inside the settings dot MongoDB, and I've created one key over here. So let me take you to settings, and here it is, and as you can see I've given a call to my environment. Unfortunately I cannot show you the environment credential, but nonetheless you can understand that you will get the API credential right once you do the set connectivity over here. So if you come over here, I can show you. If in the database and network tab, you will find over here some of the database user which I have created. Inside the IP access list, you have to whitelist the IP address so that you can generate the the insertion from any of the system you want. Okay, so let me get back to my view once again, and here it comes. So first you have to create the registration account over here, and once you do that, definitely you will be getting the IP address, API address, and that API address you will be using it in your code, and you have to whitelist the IP address, plus you have to create the database user. So these two steps you have to do it, and after that you will be good to go with your application. Okay, so now once my URL setting has been done, and since I will be using Django REST framework, so for that reason REST underscore framework has been used over here, because this is all based on DRF. So let me close this one, and now let's come over here. So once my connectivity of my API has been done successfully, now I can see some of the record that is there in my MongoDB. Like I can see the list of database that is there. Well, I can show you even that. As you can see over here, these are the database. This is my database, and if I click over here, I have got one database. So let me stop my server. Okay, it's already running. As you can see over here, this is the database which I have created by the name called my database, and these are the couple of database that is provided by MongoDB itself. Okay, now inside this database I have created some collections are basically the tables. Like these are the tables which I have created, and if you see over here a list of collection I have got. So this is something what I have created. Now currently I'm going to work on the table that is called collection called employee. This is the collection on which I'm going to work on. So that's something what I have shown right over here. So this is the detail that I'm getting it, and specifically I want to work on the collection called employee, which we saw just now over here. So that you have to specify that on which particular collection you want to work on. So I did the linking part, and I also have shown the current all the collection that is there in my database, that also has been shown, and now I'm selecting a specific collection on which the insertion operation is going to work. Okay, that's great, isn't it? Okay, so now what I will be doing is that since my project is already running, so I would try to insert the data over here. But before that, let me expand the view and let me show you what I have done over here. This is going to be very important, and you need to understand this part crystal clear. Okay, so the first thing is that the data is going to come from my postman. For that reason I will be accepting the data inside my request parameter, and remember this data is in form of JSON. It is not coming from any HTML template, rather it is coming from a front end that can be Android, or that can be like a postman, as you can see over here. So for that reason we have to collect the data in the form of request.data.get. Well, we also know that request.post we can use it, but when we use request.post, basically that is referred to the HTML template. So in your HTML template you can come up with the form tag like form method equals to post, then when we use request.post. But right now the data is in form of JSON. It is not coming from the HTTP request, rather it's a JSON that is coming in. So for that reason be careful about this portion, that we have to use request.data.get, and whatever the key name that we have got over here, that what I have mentioned. Okay, now I hope this point is now clear. Now before I get further, you must be seeing this particular line. What is this? Well, over here I have decided to work on Django signal. This is something which is very important. Well, I could have written the code without signal also, but just to introduce you with the functionality of Django signal, it is like a hook. If you are from React, we know that in React we have got React hook. So you can say this is like a hook. The hook means something that works before you actually execute some other action. Like for example, before the insertion of this particular object or document takes place in my collection, I want to check whether this particular email ID is already registered or not. If the email ID is already registered, then I will not allow the insertion of this. So how do I do this? Well, I have written a hook, and that is called signal. So I have created, if you come over here, you will find a file I have created by the name called signal, and which is present inside the Django app. So Django app dot the file name signal. So let me take you what the signal file is all about, and here it is. So this is the way you create a signal. Okay, now let me tell you one key important feature about signal. Well, if you are working on Django ORM, that means if you are working on SQL like Postgres or MySQL, signal Django will provide you some predefined signal like pre_saved, post_saved, delete_saved. So this kind of signals will be given by Django itself. But I am not working on right now. I'm not working on SQL. Rather, I'm working on MQL, that is Mongo query language. Yes, you rightly heard, MongoDB query language. So I'm working not on SQL, rather I'm working on Mongo query language, MQL. So when I'm working on Mongo query language, in that case the regular ORM or the regular hook that comes by default, we will not be able to use them. So I have created a custom signal. So this particular code which you are seeing is actually a custom signal that gets triggered before the document gets saved, and what it is checking is that the email which I am going to insert is already there or not. So that's the reason why you can see over here I have created a custom signal. So remember, if you are using PostgreSQL, then you will be getting predefined signals, but since I'm working on MQL, so for that reason I have to create a custom signal. So again, I have set up the API route that here you will get it, and I have working on the following collection. So now we are going to give a call to the decorator that is received. So this particular decorator is going to work before you fire the query, before the insertion actually takes place. So here I have given the name of my custom signal, and what I'm doing is that I'm defining a function over here, and this function is going to receive some parameter that is going to come from a function view, which we will see right over here. And I'm going to check whether I'm going to collect the data in the form of email, and whatever data I've given, that will be over here, and then I will check that whether the email is there or not, and that email I will be finding in the collection.find_1. so find_1 is like a SQL query, select star from table name where email ID is this. So this is something in the form of MQL. So it is checking the attribute name email and the value that is there in this particular variable, is that matching? If it's so, then we'll receive a value in the form of boolean. If the record is already there in my, if suppose right now I have got over here Jenny and Andrew, if these two email, if in case if I have given over here, then it would say that email already exists. Otherwise it will return back, it will get back to the view. So over here an exception would get generated. So for that reason, this is a custom signal which I have created, and this is really a good way of writing the code where you are splitting the functionalities into multiple sections. The separation of concern, you can say so, is been done through the help of custom signal. Got it? So I have given a call to this. This is like an invocation, the package I have given, and the respective signal I have called, but it is yet to be executed. So I have took the data from the postman in the form of JSON, and for that reason I said that I will be using request.data.get. I'm checking whether user has given input to all the fields or not. If not, then the response, remember this response in the form of a JSON. So it is not an HTTP response, it is a JSON response, because the response will come back to my postman, or it can be a mobile app, or it can be even a React application. So that response is going to forward it in case if any of the field is missing. Otherwise, I'm going to create a dictionary in the form of a key value pair where I'm passing all the input that I've given in the respective key and the corresponding value. Got it? So once my document is ready, now I'm giving a call to my custom signal. Look over here what I'm giving. This is the name of my custom signal, and send. Send is a system defined function associated to the signal that when been invoked, automatically a signal will get fired, and that signal is which you can see right over here. So send will give a call to this particular decorator, and it will execute this whole code snippet. So what I'm passing over here, I'm passing the document. So this particular dictionary is what I'm passing as a parameter to this particular custom signal. So it comes over here. So inside the document I have a key called email. As you can see right over here, I have a key called email. That email has been retrieved, and the value has been stored over here, and then I'm checking that value whether it is present inside this particular collection with the help of find_1, and that is your MQL. And if it is so, then it will generate an exception. This exception will be forwarded to my views, so the rest of the code will not work, rather it will come over here and it will send me this particular error in the form of status HTTP status 500. Don't worry, I will show you about that part as well. But in case if my email ID is unique, in that case it will just return back the response. So that response will come back over here, and then we are going to perform another MQL operation, that is insert_1. So when we did the search, it was find_1, and when we did the insertion, it is insert_1. So the document will be inserted successfully inside my collection, and the response will come and gets to inside the result. Now this response I want to send back to the front end, where I would be showing that when we save a data inside the MongoDB will generate one unique object ID. So this object ID is what I want to show to the front end even. So for that reason I'm passing in the form of an object over here. So I'm going to pass a key called message. It will show that the employee is successfully, and I'm creating one object. So the ID which I have received over here, this ID, if you come over here, this ID will come directly from here. As you can see, this is the ID that is going to come. That's what I'm going to accept that. The result is going to receive that ID, will extract that ID, and this ID is the object ID. Remember, when we work on JSON, we are working on document based JSON. So this is our document based JSON, as you can see over here. This is document, and so this JSON is of type document. So that's how the thing is going to work. Along with the name, department, email ID, whatever I have given, so this response will come back in the form of response. Remember, this response is a JSON response rather than HTTP response, and it will come back to my front end, that is my postman, with the status code of 200. Well, let me now fire the code, as my server is already running. So as I hit the enter now, and before that, let's go and check one more time. So let me reload the page once again, just to see whether we have got just exactly 2 documents for the given collection or not. And it is retrieving, and we have the just exactly 2 documents. So let me minimize this and let me click the send button. As I do that, this particular document gets saved successfully. See over here, we get a HTTP response of 201. That means the record got successfully saved, and this is the object ID that we receive from MongoDB. Now let's come to my database. Let me reload one more time. So in this case, now I will be seeing 3 documents registered under the following collection, and as you come down over here, look over here, the last 3 letters is 29A, and that what we are receiving, 29A. So that means the record has been saved successfully. Got it? Now comes the exception part. So that means before we save the data, the signal was called. The signal said that there was no email by this email ID. That's the reason it executed successfully. But what if I change this record to Jack Smith, and let's all the things remain the same as Chennai, and this will be like Python. This is like TypeScript. This is going to be like TypeScript, and by mistake I kept the email ID like this. Now what's going to happen, because already there is email which we saw by the name called Tim Smith is already registered. Now will it allow me to insert this record? And the answer is no. There where signal comes in picture, the signal says that email Tim Smith is already registered, as you can come over here. So this is the error message that you can see right over here, and this error message has been sent back in the form of exception, and the status code is 500. That's what you were seeing. Hence you saw that how did I perform the insertion operation inside the MongoDB collection in the form of a document, and before that how did I handle the signal, which is performing a very neat and clean separation of concern. That means this signal I can use for some other purpose, for some other collection as well. Okay, so this was my first video in this particular playlist. In my next video I will be showing you how do we perform the retrieval of these 3 documents in my front end, that is in my postman. That's what is going to be the content matter of my next video. So until then, have a nice time. Bye bye.